Hey everyone, it's Karen at Gold Star Pro, and in this video, I want to walk you through the if-else action that we have within the workflow area. Now, don't worry about the workflow that I'm using here. It's just an example. We're going to set up a new if-else, and it'll make a whole lot more sense in just a moment. So what is the if-else function? Well, let's start by clicking on the plus icon, and we'll go look for it in the actions library. So here we have it here, if-else. Now, what we use this for is to move people through our funnel in a number of different ways. So you can separate people into different paths based on criteria that you set up in this part of the action. So in this example, we're setting up our 5 days to simplify challenge. Now, when somebody comes into this workflow, they can come in two different ways. First of all, it might be a form submission, which would be by an existing Gold Star Pro user. Secondly, it might be through an order form submission. So when somebody signs up for a trial of Gold Star Pro and requests to join the 5-day challenge, we also want them coming into here. However, we want the emails that those two people get to be slightly different. We want to be able to customize what we say to people based on their responses and where they are in their journey. So what we can do here is set up an if else. In this example, let's give it a name. Okay, so the question is going to be, how did they register? Now we have to have a look at the branches. We can add as many branches as we like here, and that is based on a particular criteria. Underneath that, we always have a none branch or a no branch. And so this is anything that doesn't meet this criteria. So in this example, and there's lots of different ways you can do this, but for this example, we're going to use the triggers for this workflow. So we want to find out how they came into this workflow. So in this example, we're going to say it was a form submission. And to do that, we're going to select the workflow trigger. We're going to filter and say it is, and we're going to choose form submitted. Now, because there's only two triggers, we know that it's either a form submission or it's an order form. So we don't have to create another branch. We can just come down here and we can rename this order form submission. Okay. If we wanted to add a new branch and make a third route for these people to take, we either click on add branch, or we can click on the 3 dots on the right hand side and say duplicate branch. So in this example, we could duplicate the branch, then we would change the name here, and we would change this workflow trigger to be order form submission. But as I said, we don't need to do that because we only have two options. So in this instance, we can just click on here and select delete branch. So now we have two options. We have the form submission and we have the order form submission. So now we can click on save, and what we'll see here is that if else. How did they register? If they registered via a form submission, they're going to come down this way. If they entered via an order form submission, they're going to come this way. Now, how else can we use these? There's lots of different ways. If we click on here again and come down to the filter here, there's lots of different things we can do. So contact details. So for example, that might be a form submission and an answer they gave in one of the forms. So if you asked them a question in the form and it was a radio select, so they could choose one option or the other, you could use that as a filter to move them down different paths in this workflow. We have a number of other things that you can look at, events, you can do custom values, lots of different things that you can do. As you can see, these go on and on and on. But for the example that I've used here, for the simplest and most common avenue that you're going to use, contact details and workflow trigger. They're going to be the most popular ones and the most common ones that you might look at. So with that done, we can then go about customizing the workflow and setting it up so that we get different responses based on which way they go. So in this example, somebody comes into the workflow via a form. They come down to the if else. How did they register? Because it's a form submission, they're going to come down here. We have an internal notification that goes out to our team to say that this person has signed up for the 5 Days to Simplify challenge starting on Monday. So in this example, because we know the form submission is a GSP user, we could say they are a GSP user. Now, if they were not a GSP user, we could clone this and pop that over here, and we could change this so that the notification going to the team tells the team that they're a brand new user. And with that done, we would need to add a go-to on this section. So we could continue this down in a number of different ways, but in this example, all we wanted to do was be able to stipulate how they came into it so that we can message the team accordingly. If I wanted to, I could add extra emails in here, but all I want to do now is have them continue into the rest of the workflow. So here I'm going to click on the plus, and we have this awesome little action called Go To. We click on Save, and it's going to now highlight the different actions that we could direct this person to go to. In this example, we want them to come over here. So we click on this one here, and you can see now that we've got a path that comes to here. So if they came in via an order form submission, the internal notification will go to the team, informing them that it's a brand new user. It's then going to come to the go-to, and it'll follow this path and continue on with the rest of the workflow. So this is just one example how you can use it. There are so many different things you can do with it, but it's an incredible tool to be able to add some complexity to your workflows, add some extra functionality, and make it easier for you to customize what you do with your customers based on how they interact with your business. If you've got any questions, be sure to jump on with live chat or head over to the Facebook group.